Dice Night, a D&D podcast brought to you by the group Unpowered. Hello, my name is Casey Cool. With me tonight is Eric Scott, Sean Spoolman Poole, and Hunter, no last name needed. Welcome, everybody, to our new D&D show. Our D&D podcast. Never been done before. No one's ever done any of these, so never been done.
Never seen one before.
Never seen one. Don't listen to any.
Never like this. Okay, everyone, take your shirts off.
yeah.
Oh no, it's not that kind of show.
It's not that kind of show. No. So welcome. This is our first night. We're running a session 0, but we decided to start a podcast because of my love for D&D. We do a main podcast on this channel about video games, but Underpowered is really about all gaming, be it trading card games. Eric hosts a show about Pokemon trading cards. We have the standard show about video games, but we want to get focused more on tabletop games and my love for D&D. And the group came up with an awesome name of Dice Night because whenever we have it and we're excited to talk to each other, we call it Dice Night. Who's excited, boys?
So excited.
I'm thrilled. I'm chugging my black tea right now, so I have all the caffeine.
Yeah. Now we have a secret campaign that we run because it's not for the ears of it's our special time together, and we'll take breaks from that.
That's where the shirts come off.
That's where the shirts come off. Right. Yes. You missed that on take 1, everybody, which is my fault. But we want to run. I personally buy all the D&D books, or I get D&D books, and I was like, I can't wait to run these. But we have this homebrewed campaign that we started running for about a year and a half now, and we want to kind of mix it up because if someone gets busy or things going on, and we have a 4th member who couldn't be here with us tonight, but he will be Matt Meehy. He will be playing in this campaign, and he will be bringing the thunder. Great guy, we are going to focus on a module, one of the more popular ones that everyone starts after Christmas or the holiday season, is Icewind Dale, Rise of the Frost Maiden. And so we're going to be running a session 0 today. And in that session 0, it's just to teach people how you should hold a group, right? Because I think that's really important to D&D. The number one killer of D&D groups is what, Sean? Scheduling always kills D&D groups. And I also think some other red flags for D&D groups, or when people start a group, is there's no session 0, because then not everyone's on the same page. I think as a DM, it's your job to kind of lead and be point guard on that in a way. And in doing so, it's
sets a good foundation.
It sets a good foundation, and I think, and then everyone just knows what to expect. Like, oh, what's the time commitment? And we're going to go through all of that here very shortly. Let me pull up my screen because I'm running 2 computers right now.
I don't know, Casey. Did you say that you're going to be the DM?
Yes,
the dungeon master.
I'm the dungeon master. Now, I'm not a forever DM, but I will be the dungeon master this time for Icewind, and I'm the DM for our first campaign. Hunter has DM'd a one-shot for us. That was great. And Sean was my first DM in our group that got defunct for a lot of other outside reasons. But Sean was awesome DM.
Scheduling
and people moving to Germany.
Yeah.
Falling outs. But the big thing I think that's great is we all have, like, Sean has Strahd, right? That's the book you have. And we'd love to run that. Yeah, Curse of Strahd. And Hunter got a really nice book from somebody.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Oh, man, that thing's sick.
Is it? Cool.
Yeah.
He got a copy of the new Dragonlance from his neighbor.
Oh, nice.
That's me. I'm his neighbor. It's for him putting up with me and letting me borrow his ladder all the time. And helping me out. But for session 0, shirtless, definitely. We have some checkoffs here that are so the first thing on our checklist that I always like to go over is just the DM style. So house rules, we have those as well. We have a list of house rules that I'll show up here in just a second. Our house rules are pretty standard in what we do. They're unique to our game, and we're kind of continuing because we have experience together. Rule flexibility, we'll talk about something about how far can you push a rule. Rules lawyering, as Hunter likes to call it. Milestone or experience, we're going to talk about that tonight as well. Homebrew, and then consequences from in-game. So let's start with house rules. I always bring them up because the house rules are kind of like your group's shared agenda or shared referendum in a way where you are saying, hey, I need to make a change to this, or this is too overpowered, or this doesn't work. So let me pull up our house rules here.
Has like the standard rules, but then every
yes.
group,
Yeah, we obviously have the standard D&D rules. Like our rule 0, the main thing is everyone have fun, right?
That's not in the book.
That's not in the book. Be present, cameras on. Now, the camera on thing is different. We found when we first did our online session, we had like a really good in-person session one time, and then our first online session kind of went to poo because people weren't listening. There was a group of people together not talking, and they couldn't hear. Whereas if you were in table, so we had to set some kind of like everyone's camera needs to be on. But I think that's true because then you're engaged with your team a bit more, or you just know that everyone's
you're like accountable.
You're accountable, yeah. DM
Plus,
control
so much requires the use of your hands.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is D&D is designed to be played, in your parents' basement with a group of friends.
Yes.
And we're doing it online together. So we have to kind of get as close to that as we possibly can.
Yes. It's not even mom's basement, but it is. It's about being together, right?
Right.
Be your character, meaning like play like your character, don't play like you. And that's not an excuse to be like my character would do it. You have to really think about the morality of a character. Our natural 20 rule is when you roll in that 20, you get max damage, meaning so if you had a weapon that was a 1d10 plus 8, you get the full 18. And then you get to roll and add that on top, right? So it's like a super crit. Potions, they can be used as a bonus action. If you use an action, you get the full effect of the potion instead of roll. If you use it on a bonus action, you still have to roll, and you don't necessarily get the full health effects. Players can get an extra attack bonus for good description. We talked about that, right? Or just some extra damage for flavor. Now, this one rule we haven't had to talk about. You can use a shield or weapon to block a critical hit, but it will break the shield or disarm the weapon, depending on the roll. Team inspiration. We do group inspirations where if you get one, you can put one in the pot, and then each of them can get one. Can spend inspiration on reaction and inspiration on saving roll. Cleave damage rule applies. So we do cleave damage because it speeds up combat. I feel like sometimes the game gets slogged in combat. Who wants to explain what cleave damage is? Hunter, why don't you explain it?
Yeah, so basically, you've got an enemy with only 5 hit points left, and you go for it, and you roll, 20 plus damage. We're going to take a portion of that extra damage after the 5 and apply it to the next enemy. As our befits, if the enemies are on opposite sides of the battlefield, it's not like your sword just went and then grew 60 feet. But
be sick if it did.
Do we roll to hit the next person too? Right? It's not like an automatic hit.
Or
is it? I don't remember.
No, we usually just apply it to the next.
We usually apply it to the next. So when you hit them, they are weakened. And because usually if you're hitting something, it's the same AC. Right? Like usually it's like, a mob of skeletons. Okay, this skeleton had 12, so this one's going to have, also 12 AC. So it's, DM's discretion in a way, but whatever you think needs to speed
everything is.
Yeah.
It also helps you feel a lot more badass, like in like a hack and slash game where you're doing these big cleave attacks, just swiping down mobs.
Yeah.
I mean, could you
go ahead, Eric?
Could you just apply that initial hit roll to whatever it is that's near it? So if you rolled, let's say you rolled a 21 to hit, okay, well that applies to everything within cleave range.
No, it's more of if you kill an enemy, whatever the overkill is goes to that enemy next to him.
Well, no, I understand that, but we're talking about to actually hit that next enemy.
The attack roll, not the damage roll. I don't think we ever did a damage roll. Usually, you just tack on like 75% of the excess damage to the next nearest target.
Yeah, I've usually and if it's close, like it doesn't really. If it's like 20 feet away, it doesn't make sense. But if it's like if you're surrounded by 3. Right? It's kind of more of a spacing thing in my mind, too. The other one's the Sean Poole original from the first campaign I ran with Sean. It's rolling for hotness, and you can see how beautiful a person is if you roll a d20.
I can't take full credit because I don't remember if I don't think I came up with it, but
Nope. That is the
original
Sean Poole
crew that I
original.
And you'll find out very quickly.
it definitely carried over from me.
It's the group's favorite house rule.
Yeah. It's one that they'll recall.
It's like whenever you meet a new person, it's up to the player. But like, how beautiful does their character see this person? Because to one person they could be a 1, like a nat 1, and then to like next
Beauty's
person
in
they
the eye
could
of
be
the
like
beholder.
they could be nat 20 and be like the most beautiful. Like I think in our other campaign there is another halfling. I play like a halfling bard, and there's another halfling that I met, and I think I rolled a 20, and I play like a teenager basically, and so she's the love of his life.
Yeah, and it's a fun story. He's trying to figure it out. And the other thing about it is too, sometimes with those rolls, like I have to be like, okay, for time, 1 roll for everybody, how hot they are. Or like, everybody roll. And sometimes it'll be a group average. Like, okay.
And it's not every NPC. It's like usually when we meet some new person, that's either I think in the player's mind is either could be cute or could be like totally ugly. Because sometimes you don't want them to be hot, and then sometimes you get like this tentacle faced like whatever monster. You're like, she's beautiful.
We tried to do this D&D podcast thing a long time ago, like when I was pretty green and DMing. And now I have more experience works, but Sean was this turtle warlock, and we were fighting a green hag, and he rolled a nat 20 on how hot she was. And I was like, okay, now you have to listen. Like you're seduced.
Yeah,
by her. It was like it totally backfired
her from everyone else.
Yeah, he's like, no.
His name was Hieronymus, and he was a lost Ninja Turtle, and he used a whip.
Yes, he did. He did the whip.
That's actually really cool. I'm stealing that.
It was a good.
He was a Hexblade Warlock, I think, was his class.
I had in my mind an arc where they go into 1989 New York and meet the Ninja Turtles. Like I had a whole thing in my head. I'm like, okay, and then eventually we're gonna get to here. And then finally recall roll. So sometimes because of life and depending, some people have a good group note taker. I'm a note taker. I always have been. And some people do it for their characters, and sometimes they forget stuff. I make a running doc. Or I'll just take stuff. One, as a DM, you should always be writing your stuff down. And I think when you're writing your stuff down, it's okay to give it to your players. But if they need a piece of information that I said you specifically need to remember it, I give them a chance for a recall roll, and they can use history or like some type of intellect-based thing to recall it. But that kind of gives the enforcement like, hey, keep track of your stuff, right? Mm-hmm. That's the other thing too. The DM, you are babysitting, but not really, right? You're more in like you're giving them the pieces if you want to be successful. But that goes back to the idea of consequences, right? When we talked about that for session 0. So those are our house rules. Is there any changes, any amendments, anything anybody wants to add?
So I wanted to ask about spell slots out of combat for.
Great question, Eric. Great question. He gets inspiration for the night. Ding! Now, I will say this. If it's because we kind of were doing that when I was the wizard and Hunter was like, okay, you're being close. Like for flavor, like my wizard likes to like misstep everywhere. I think that's fine. If it's in like a situation where they're exploring the town or doing whatever, I think it depends on how ridiculous to what you're trying to do. Right?
Okay.
Like within I'll be like, you're gonna have. I would say like, okay, I want to do this thing. I'd be like, okay, you have to use a level 4 spell slot. Do I really want to try to do it? Like, and then you have to roll for it. So I'm still giving you an opportunity, but it's you might blow that spell slot. And again, consequences are important for that reason alone.
Okay.
Did I answer that question? Yeah.
So whenever you feel like it, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I would say give me an instance on what you're saying too.
Don't give away all your tricks, Eric.
So let's say I wanted to try and use a mind control type spell on an NPC to find out some information.
Okay. You know what? I'm going
like
to
a guard or like who? Yeah, I get you.
A guard or
the way I always treated it is think about like I think we've all played WoW at some point in our lives, right? Like when you when you cast a whatever kind of spell in a town, it's just like basically global cooldown timer. Whereas like if you're in the wilderness or you're in the shit, it's like the normal cooldown, aka a spell slot.
Right. And I think
If you
a
initiate
spell
combat,
versus a cantrip
slot.
is a bit different too. Like if the cantrip, I'm trying to look in the player's handbook right now, my digital one, and see what it says. Casting spells out of combat.
So essentially, should the consequences of the spell result in entering combat,
Yeah, then it costs
Okay.
a spell slot.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, because most mind control spells, they're aware of it after, which would potentially put you in combat.
Yeah, like here's
Yeah.
where it could be like broken, right? Like the spell Wish. If you wanted to cast Wish and just spam Wish can like resurrect people. It can cure. It does all sorts of crazy things.
Yes.
If you just
It's like
wanted
a
to use
demon.
that out of combat, a wish, you're using a spell slot on Wish, right? Like if the discretion was, there's also, so it goes back to when we were talking about our let me get back to this guy right here. The idea of rule flexibility, the rule of cool, man. If it sounds cool, we might let it happen. But there's going to be, I think Eric's always talking about, we got to be rolling dice. And I think that's a big part of the game.
Oh, you should still be rolling for anything you're casting at to require some kind of save, regardless of our spell slot rule or not.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that a good group, a good cohesive group could probably just apply context to the situation and have a good understanding of okay, this is what's going on. What you're doing right now actually has either really serious story implications or moving into combat implications. Yeah, it's probably good to use a spell slot. Or am I just kind of screwing around? Or maybe is this kind of an intermediate thing and there's
flavor.
no real combat situation?
Yeah.
Then maybe we can be a little bit liberal with using
a great way
some
to put
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing about D&D is they even say it in the book, like these rules aren't like definite. I mean, there's some things that are, like the rules can be changed, right?
They're a baseline, is what it is.
They're baseline. Like, yeah, it's more of a suggestion. And so you either go with there.
Because you can do it another way where like we get to a certain level, then like level 1 spells basically become like cantrips or something, or like something like that, where it's free. There's so many ways you can.
I like that idea a lot. And that's something I'd be cool with that. Like for me, like Eric Cochra's, right? I always thought like the biggest nightmare you hear about flying classes is people like, and we fly 60 feet. I think at level 1 you can fly 15 feet. At level 2 you can do 20. You get 10 feet progressively. So whatever what's their, I don't know what their max flying height is.
They changed it now.
Did they?
I spent like $10 today to buy the new updated. It's like
updated race.
Their flight speed now matches their walking speed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Impressive.
All right. Maybe
while we're on the topic of spells though, we haven't done this before just because it's so casual, and I think I'm the only real proper spellcaster in the other campaign. But spell materials, that's kind of the balance for like Revivify costs a diamond worth $1,000.
Right.
Wish, I don't even know if you can cast Wish as a player. You have to have something that does it.
You have to have a diamond.
But yeah, basically, like those are the balance more than just spell slots.
So for managing, I think what I was thinking about this, because I think in this campaign, because we were running something from them, Rime of the Frost, maybe right here. Ciao. I've been dying to run this since I got it. You will have to, as a spellcaster, make sure you go into town and like you don't have to tell me I'm buying a bat swing. You're buying spell components, and then we can just make a standard price for how much you need. So like I would say, okay, how many spell slots? Like, are you out? This or that. So it might be like 10 gold, 15 gold. It could change depending on the session, inflation and such, But if you're not buying components or you're not prepared for components, I was thinking like a bag of components lasts you a session. So having like 2 or 3 bags of components is always a good thing, right?
Yeah, and usually for lower level spells, you don't even need components, or
Right.
they're like because you have a focus. Most
Right.
like 99% of spellcasters are going to have a spell focus that eats that cost. But then there's when you get to higher level stuff, then it turns into like you need a 50 gold. I forget what it is. I think it's like components that are above 50 gold worth or whatever. You have to actually have them.
Like Wish, and those like higher level spells will definitely enforce those rules. And then just buying a component spell bag of Arcana stuff that you need, right? It's like a potpourri. I feel like you're going to a potpourri shop and you're like, here's your magic mix.
A cornucopia of random fruits and vegetables.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, and actually, when we were talking about leveling and spell levels, we've always done milestone leveling, but I wanted to pose to the group, do we want to do milestone or do we want to do experience?
I'm fine with either. It really ends up being the same. It's just one is easier to track than the other.
Yeah, milestone.
Milestone is probably just the best. You have an idea of when we want to level up. There's no use trying to shoehorn experience into it.
Yeah, here's a random encounter. Yeah, I don't. Right. Yeah,
I feel like from the DM point of view, it gives you more freedom to customize and like make up these cool things without worrying about like, oh no, I gave them 10 monsters, now they're gonna level up, but I didn't want them to level up, or like whatever. Like, there's so many other things you have to worry about with experience.
And some people like that real number crunchy, like super crunchy, and some people want a story.
I'll probably be doing experience for the
Dragonlance.
No, for the other
runes. Yeah,
great one.
Yeah.
Spoilers. No.
Previews.
Just because it's going to be so open world. Like, I'm literally probably the first time in DM's just going to be like, go. Like, there's no railroading. There's no overarching story. It's just live it.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
I think, when it's something that's more linear, like a contained kind of story like this.
And that's what these books are, the modules are, right?
Milestone makes more sense, I think. Whereas, like, what Hunter's saying, experience makes sense when it's more open world of like, oh, you just go out and do your things. And when it's like more contained, like you're doing one shots, like my kind of campaign where they're basically a guild that collect almost like I forget what it's called, Fairy Tale. Is it Fairy Tale?
Where they like have Fairy Tale anime. Yeah, no, that's right.
Anime where they basically get these missions and they go on them, and that like they come back to their guild. Like I feel like experience would kind of make sense in that. Milestone too.
You should try Goblin Slayer, by the way, because it's D&D. And then there's another one. If you guys haven't actually, that's your guys' anime homework. Goblin Slayer is a D&D.
I didn't sign up for there's no anime homework.
Psych! Surprise! This is all ruse. It's actually an anime podcast. That's why Hunter and I are in the anime shirts. Okay, I'm fine for milestone. Here's the thing: when you buy these books, I didn't look at Dragonlance because I didn't want to peek and cheat myself. But I know, and maybe Sean, you can speak to Sean. They have things in like chapter increments. Same with I have Strixhaven and I have the Candlekeep, which I want to combine together for like a giant high school campaign or college campaign. So that being said, when you run these milestone, if you run a homebrew or you run like he's doing, Connor wants to do the open world, I think experience is the way to go. And we talk kind of consequences with everything else. So let's move on to the next part. In-game topics. So metagaming, rules debate, character death, PvP. I'm one to know like, hey, let's all look up this rule. And then I think the rule debate thing in metagaming is hard because some people really hate metagaming. And Sean, why don't you define metagaming for the group?
Metagaming is when you use outside knowledge of the game or whatever to influence like your character's decisions.
Right. Like if you guys get a cutaway, because I want to do something for dramatic effect of two characters talking about how they're going to screw you over, and you know that.
Like I'm not there. I'm in another room.
Right.
But then like Eric and Hunter's
you don't get to know that.
And then I'm making decisions for my character based on stuff that I have no idea about, or like having someone like this is where it gets kind of gray, is where other people kind of tell you things that your character should do. That's when it gets kind of like sticky because are you doing it in character or is it something that you just forgot that your character can do? Like I feel like people can help you like once or twice with that before it starts to get like
right.
Because especially in the beginning, you don't know all the things of your character you can do, and sometimes people are like, "Bro, you can stealth. You're a rogue. Why aren't you?"
You can hide. And the other thing I always like is like when those kind of cutaways happen, where it's like and the guy that you brought with you, you think you trust him, and they're the marks, and then like you cut back and like me and Eric, he seems like a great guy. Like you're talking about, you kind of double down on being so. I like that's the best way to play it.
It is.
I always say
it is
too,
the
if
most
characters are going to talk, do it in character. That makes it more fun, more immersive. Be your character.
That's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
another
I've
question.
got a
too.
plan.
Do we have to use voices or like do? like,
Yeah,
some
if
different
your character
or
has
are-
a voice, it depends on what you do, right?
Hi, I'm Deep Voice Sean. This is
Oh yeah, dude, I'm into it. Hey, what's up? Character death and rules debate. So character death, we kind of just run the standard rules, and then like if a character wants to be reincarnated, if a character, there's options, right, for character death. But rule debates, something I am not an expert. You can always learn more, and I have people with me, and we're a group, and so ultimately the DM has the final say. It's something we've established in this group, right? But the rules are presented, and when the right case is made, we'll go, oh, okay. Like we had an issue, not issue, that's the wrong word. We had like a misunderstanding about one, I screwed up on armor class. I was making it way too hard to hit for the longest time. And I went and reread the player's handbook. But the other thing that we were big on was like time. How long's a round? And a round from beginning is 6 seconds, right? And it's not 6. And I was like, oh, it's 6 seconds per person. But
Per
no,
turn.
it's a round per turn. Yeah. And then we've all gone through little things. Hunter's really good about bringing up spell stuff and sharing that and give me the rundown. Because sometimes, too, as the DM, you're juggling like 20 things at once. So it really does help. I don't mind a person telling me something and I can look into it. But at the same time, we all know, like, if Eric was DMing and he goes, well, this is how it's going to work. You know, it's about finding a happy medium, but we're going to go with the DM. Character death. We've had NPCs die in our campaign.
We were tricked.
Brutal, man.
We
Too
were
soon.
tricked.
And
Oh, poor Yancey.
poor Yancey. And he's so
And
blunt.
Applebee's.
That he deserved it.
Yeah, but there is no poor
I pushed
there's
him
no
off
poor
a cliff.
Applebee's.
Yeah, even Eric wasn't even the one who got to kill Applebee's. Sean
Yeah.
did it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
but I'm the
He
one
was
who,
He was trying to kill my girlfriend.
he was
Blaine did punk Applebee's though.
a lot.
Applebee's was
lot.
like
He
this
ruined
big
Applebee's
character, and I
life.
kept coming back and being like a little asshole.
But that
Oh,
was
my
again. That's fun, right? And we'll kind of do
Mhm.
stuff like that. I'm sure. I'm looking through this. I'm like, okay, what's a character I could make that does that? Character death, though, I think we kind of play it by ear, because there's ways you could find a powerful druid and be resurrected, and it could be like a little side quest for the group. You could make a pact with a demon, becoming like a
I
Teflon
would
type thing.
never.
And then PvP, I put a question mark with it. I think PvP is more like, hey, my character's mad at yours, so we're just going to do athletic grapple checks, and whoever wins those, like, no fights to the death. I think PvP can end poorly, because sometimes a certain class is built so strong where you can't do anything. You're like, oh no, right?
Is the subject of how much we plan on? Is that something we can talk about in a session 0?
Yeah.
Like let's kind of set boundaries on PvP, like in general. Like, okay, guys, let's try to keep this thing on the rails and not kill each other.
Yeah, I think
that,
it is a
We're not,
cohesive
are
team
any
game.
of us? None of us are gonna. Well, like, kind of the question is, are any of us gonna be evil characters? And like, usually you don't, unless you have like explicit kind of like decision from the beginning. Usually, evil characters aren't allowed or don't make sense, because evil characters innately are going to be backstabbing, like literally backstabbing, or like being like jerks to other people.
Yeah,
Unless
and I
they
don't
have
want to
other
roll
kind of-
like that.
I will say, like, one thing, rather than like actually fighting each other, I think a more common PvP thing that you would see is people stealing from each other.
Yeah,
Like, in a way, like, how much of that is allowed? Like, say someone gets some piece of loot that your character is like, ooh, I could use that. And maybe your character's not evil per se, but there might be like a thief or whatever that's just like, ooh, I want to collect every little tiny
I think
trinket.
it could come back as the consequence. I think it goes back to that. Like, I steal from
But I think that's something that you talk about though in a session 0. Like, okay, guys, this is
Yeah,
what I'm thinking about.
sure.
This is my character's thing. Is he's a nice guy. He's just got sticky fingers and he wants to take from
So
people.
keep anything you like, keep
is
close
that
to you.
cool with you guys? Yeah, is that
Yeah.
cool that like I'm gonna try and and fleece you guys some of your loot here and
Or
there.
it could be like, hey, what happened to this thing? Oh, I sold it. Like, and you're just open and honest about it. You're like, God, like
Because I would love, like a mechanic like that, I would love to be able to find the balance of what is fun or funny
Yes.
versus what's
Yeah.
just kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Exactly, because
And-
if you go back to rule 0, where it's like have fun, I think the main thing that it comes down to with PvP is like you want to make sure you're not infringing on other people having fun. Because like
Yeah.
if you're being a jerk and someone like I got this new bow and it's amazing, da da da, and then you're like, yoink, I
Stealing
steal
the
the bow
bow.
and like,
Yeah.
whatever. It's
You're
like
being a jerk then, right?
then you're being
Yeah.
a dick, or
Yeah, well, it's like are you stealing beer from my character's inventory? Though that's no big deal. Are you stealing stealing this really cool item? Well, then I might have an issue with that. But
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
or my character might have an issue.
And
with
then
that, I
again,
guess.
the DM should be like, you're gonna try to steal that from them. Okay, you got to roll a nat 20, right? Like you got to make the or a DC, whatever,
Mhm.
you know.
And that, I
Go
think
ahead.
like for like PvP, like say two characters get in like a friendly kind of like let's take this outside or whatever. Like I think if you both kind of agree to it and you like fit again, probably like not to the death, but like
Right, that's why I
like, you're
say
gonna
athletic
fist yourself
checks.
or whatever. Yeah,
Because then it's like a fist
then
fight.
then it's
If you
fun or
do-
cool. Or,
Yeah, or like a grappling match. Like all right, like drunk dudes at the bar in their youth.
Well, I mean, could we have like different? I mean, that I think that actually lends to something fun. Like the two characters can stand there and debate. How do you want to settle this?
Yeah,
And instead
that
of
could be
I
a
mean,
thing. If
they,
the
they
beast,
could
yeah,
they could say okay, combat to half health or something
Oh.
like that, or they could say no, we're going to have a wrestling match, or no, we're going to build a sandcastle. Or we're
yeah. However
just
you want to duel, like
however you want to
a
Yeah.
do it,
performance.
and,
That's what I was gonna
and,
say.
yeah,
like,
a
use your
performance,
strength.
and just work within the context of those different
Yeah, yeah.
categories.
Yeah,
And I think
Creative.
that's a more fun way to do it than than just
Yeah.
pull out our swords and try to kill each other.
right. The only way like a character wanting to kill each other would have to be some crazy story arc too, right?
Yeah.
Now essentials. Now usually essentials for in person is like the snack person, be the snack chef, be snack guy. Whoever brings snacks, they're always the best guy. All right.
Oh,
But
man.
the thing for our session 0 is how often do we plan on playing? How long will we be playing the type of game? And we'll talk about the type of game when we go into theme here. But how often we play? We try to play twice a month, I'd say regularly. Like a really great month, we sneak in 3, right?
Mhm.
And we play from, if I'm on my schedule right, 7:30 to like 10:30 or 11ish. So 3 hours to 3.5 hours. It depends on the group that night. 8, 9, 10. Yeah. And we plan on putting these podcasts out in episodes. So if you watch the live show on Twitch, Underpowered TV, you can watch the full thing or on our YouTube. But if you listen, they're going to be in 2-part increments. And the YouTube will probably be in. So actually, if you just want to watch the whole thing live, just come to Twitch. That'd probably be the way. I just made that call.
You open this up with snacks. I will say 2 things that are very important. Snacks is one of them. Like this is this last year and a half is my first year of getting into D&D, and the longevity of these long sessions, I struggled with them. And honestly, snacks are really important. Snacks are key to staying ahead of that and staying with it. Yeah,
Hunter started his snacks off early.
Yeah.
And the other
Already
thing
finished
too, the other thing too that I'm glad that we did, and it's something I know I ask frequently about, is
Built-in
a
breaks.
break, an
Yeah.
intermission. A good 5 to 10 minutes. Not just go to the bathroom and then sit back down. Stand up, stretch your legs.
Yeah.
Because
Because again, if we were playing at a table, people could get up and move around and be like thinking and stretching, right? In person allows you, I think, you feed off the energy more and you can go really long. But we're also busy adults, and so like to get together twice a month to 3 times a month is huge with the schedules we have. And so
I
we're
just
just
say-
happy doing it.
One thing. Can everyone look
Yeah.
over Casey's shoulder right now?
See my dog, how she
at
sleeps.
Millie. his dog is just sleeping
She's
Sleeping
upside
like
sleeping
down.
Snoopy, like Snoopy.
Happy.
Yeah.
That's her bed. So we quit using the crate. She only sleeps on the bed now.
Nice.
She hates the crate, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna try it. And she doesn't destroy it. She's perfectly happy. So my wife's like, you gave our dog a bed. Yes, that is correct.
You gave her her own room.
It is.
That's
It's
her room.
Millie's room. Yeah, that's her
Yeah.
safe space. She'll go in here when she's like, I'm bored of everybody. And I'm like, where the hell's the dog? And I'll come down. I'm like, oh, hey. She looks up at me like I'm napping. But so we'll be playing. Yeah, sometimes we'll try to get a really long schedule in, but it's hard. But usually 3 hours is our limit.
It works for us.
If we could do a 24-hour charity stream somehow, that'd be sick. 24
No.
hours of D.
No.
No way. Eric
No.
barely makes the 3 hours.
I would say those nights where we push it to 4 hours. After 4 hours, I'm no longer. I might physically be here. It's all just.
Yeah, I feel like. Do you think if it was during the midday though, it'd be different? Like you'd have more.
Probably.
Yeah.
That might be part of it. But
I think it is. I think we're all winding down.
It's honest. If you've had to, it starts to feel like work. It starts to feel like I have the sitting and the focus. Just
yeah.
It takes some time. So like I said, I think having that break in a session is important. And like I said, my stretch, walk around, do stuff, and snacks. Snacks are huge.
I agree. All right.
Are there any other essentials?
I don't think
Red
so.
Bull.
I think that's essential. I think some of the other essentials too. For how long are we playing too? Like, is this a like our one campaign? Like, we're just gonna do a one shot, and I was like, hey, this is one shot. I want to turn into a campaign, right?
Yeah.
That happens, right? And this isn't a campaign. This is a story. This is a module, and we're gonna run that module. And when that story's done, it's done. And because it's in the Forgotten Realms, which is a D&D property. And if you guys decide to run Dragonlance can't be run in the Forgotten Realms, but I think Strahd can, right?
Yeah.
No? If Strahd can
Yes.
be run in the Forgotten. Yeah.
Well, kind of. Strahd is its own like parallel dimension, basically.
Yeah.
But
So there could be
it's based-
crossovers. Yeah. So if like these characters could be in the Forgotten Realms, sure. And eventually we might want to just do our own thing and just do the open world game or start a whole new campaign.
Yeah.
But we'll be playing this for, I feel like every 2 sessions or 3 sessions is a chapter. So we could be doing this for a while, but we're going to take breaks to do our other campaign from time to time too. So there might be a period where, hey, we're not recording Frostwind because we're going to do 2 sessions of our personal campaign, right? Because we kind of missed that character, those stories. And we want to finish those. We're selfish and we put too much time into this. I'm selfish. Now, I think the other part we need to talk to is the world, right? When we talk about world building. So the estimated campaign link, it's 12 chapters. So let's say we put 3 sessions to everything, right? It could be, let's say in the 30s, right? 30 sessions, I think. What D&D version we're running 5e? What books the GM will look for? I'm looking at the Player's Handbook, obviously the To Himself, Rise of the Frostmaiden, and the DM's Guide. And then I'll try to find some other added homebrew stuff too. If you don't know the themes here, it's a survival, horror, and fantasy, right? Like it's the world of Frost of Icewind Dale is not a pleasant one because of the Frostmaiden herself, that owl creature you see on that cover. She keeps the world in perpetual frost in Icewind Dale. In the level campaign, this isn't a 1 to 20. We're gonna get to level 1 to 12, maybe 13, right? If we play it right. So it's going to be a lower level campaign. There. Any questions about the session or the world for Icewind Dale?
Are we getting kind of one of those hidden house rules? But do we get our one celebrity cameo?
That was the other house rule. Yes,
Yeah.
Sorry. That is a house rule we established. Right. Thank you for bringing that up.
I was waiting for a good time to bring that up.
I forgot about that.
No, it should have been when we were talking about house rules. That was a good one. Thank you for reminding me because I had this thought. We came up with a funny rule. We have something called the canon rule. And the canon rule is if you want a celebrity from Earth Realm to exist somehow in this realm, everybody gets one. Because we were like, this could get too ridiculous, right? Like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Keanu Reeves,
Michael Jordan, I think.
I
Michael
added
Jordan.
Jack
There's
Black.
another one, and Jack Black. Eric has told me his, and it's
Right.
coming. And so, yeah, you used yours for Michael Jordan because you said the number thing. I was like, all right,
The number thing, yeah.
So they and Keanu Reeves has been integral to the story.
I forget. Did
yeah.
Keanu turn bad?
Keanu
He's
is
like
bad.
the
Yeah, okay.
one,
He's the
one
harbinger of
below the
death now.
BBG.
That's what I thought. I was like, I'm pretty sure he turned bad.
Yeah.
So,
real
so,
bad.
so since we're on the subject of kind of going back into little house rules, I want a cat again, like
familiar?
a little companion animal. It's kind of a standard that I'm just going to have in pretty much every session.
Okay.
Just
Eric, do you have a few cats?
I have a few cats. I'm a crazy cat dude. What can I say? But
That's fine. As long as it's not
permissible?
like, no, that's fine. You could have, like, if depending on what character you have, a cat that you bring with your house. I don't know if you want to bring it out into the wild or
Well,
if
what
we,
if? Well,
Go
what
ahead.
about like a ferret?
I mean, sure, if it made sense for your character.
What
The
if
thing
it
about
can
this-
it fit in the backpack?
If
Does
it
it
can
have
fit in
to
the
fit in the
backpack,
backpack?
yeah, that'd be sick. But here's the thing:
Okay.
travel's important in Icewind Dale. So something you do need to know is sled dogs. There's this creature called an axebeak, which is a giant ostrich type bird with a beak. You use those to travel on. So we're gonna roll for gold tonight, and then during your off sessions, you're gonna tell me what your way of travel is. So you might have a couple sled dogs. You might have this. You might, and like Hunter, if I know what character you're going to do, we could work something out where that's pulling the sled for you. Was my thought.
That's
So
hilarious.
I know, right? I think. Well, here's the thing: the more dogs you have, the faster your sled. To a certain point, you know. I think
100 chihuahuas.
no sled dogs.
You said the more dogs. You didn't say
Sorry,
sled dog.
100 chihuahuas that would die
Huskies.
instantly from the frozen cold.
Malamutes.
Built for that. Yeah, you want
I'd give
husky
them
Malamutes.
booties, obviously.
Or burners, they're pullers too. Now, but where was I? So that's something you have to think about too. But like having a pet cat, whatever, that's fine, as long as it's not too over the top ridiculous. But I mean, if you pull out any more snowboarding tricks, you have to let me tell you what the roll is for snowboarding.
Oh, come on. That was awesome.
It was. You just got to let me get it out. I think we all knew it was coming. So that would be that for session 0. Any questions about anything else in Icewind Dale? Or are you guys kind of just waiting to see? Because I kind of talked about it.
Like, I'm sure at some point, I don't know if it'll be in like session 1 or what, but will you give us like a world overview of it's like what's happening kind of in the world and stuff? I'm assuming.
Absolutely in session 1. I could give you a little rundown right now if you want. Like, let me give you.
That'd be nice,
piece.
just so I could get in like
a mental space. Well, this is probably good for your characters.
Yes.
So I guess a question while you're looking that up is Icewind Dale, is it kind of like, is it like Canada where it's just cold all the time? It's just
it's definitely cold all the time.
Wasteland.
Icewind Dale.
So this is kind of my question of like,
I made notes. Hey, it's located at the northern end of. It's located on the northern end of the Sword Coast.
Dale, Canada.
You ready?
Sorry.
Okay. It's located at the northern end of the Sword Coast. It's bordered by the southern spire of the World Mountain Range, to the north of the Sea of Movine, and east of the Russian Glacier sits Icewind Dale. It is the far north, right, in the Forgotten Realms.
Did you say to the east of the Russian Glacier?
No, it's the.
It is Canada.
Glacier.
It is Canada then.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Hold on. I'm trying to find. Oh, that's a big piece of lore. I don't think I need to read that to you necessarily. This is like about the reckoning.
Good.
I could, but there is a soft opening that I had marked, and actually, page 22. That's what it was. Thank you. I made notes, and I should follow them. Okay, so Icewind Dale has become trapped in perpetual winter. Ferocious blizzards make the mountains pass through the spine of the world, exceeding treacherous. and this land has not felt the warmth of the sun in over 2 years. In fact, the sun no longer appears above the mountains, not even in what should be the height of summer. In this frozen tundra, darkness and bitter cold reign as king and queen. Most Dale residents blame Oro, the Frost Maiden, the god of winter's wrath. The shimmering aura that weaves across the sky each night is said to be her doing, a potent spell that keeps the sun at bay. Dale folk live in the scattering of settlements known as 10 towns. They drop off in caravans coming from the south and travel between settlements, and this never-ending winter has left everyone feeling isolated. Although each town has resolved to appease the frostbane with sacrifice of one kind or another, no respite from winter's furies seem forthcoming. For adventurers such as yourself, 10 towns is a place to test one's mettle, and in the spirit of heroes who have come before, leave one's mark on this frigid, blighted land. The other thing about this too, I've said when you make your character, this is a place where, to me, when I read about it, people are stuck there, they're hiding there, or they're forced to be there. They're they're doing something there. Did that paint a better picture?
Doesn't
If
sound
you
like
guys
a destination place.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people that are born stuck there, and we'll talk more about that when we get into the character creation, which I guess we're kind of moving in now. We talked about character backgrounds in the past, and for character creation, we're going to talk about what we're playing, what these guys are playing. I got to play all the monsters, the backgrounds and stats. So one really cool thing about this book is that it has a set of backgrounds, and those are suggestions. Initially, I was like, hey, everyone just use one of these character backgrounds because it kind of ties in. But then Eric brought up the point, like, I just never gotten to make a character that I fully control. And I was kind of like, well, what is it? And I go, I guess that, you know what? It needs to be fun for everybody so we can make it work. But if these are more, I can't really come up with a hook. Like, I'm not inspired. Or sometimes it's not about not being inspired even. It's just you don't have either. You see something like, oh, yeah, I think I'd like to use that because it fits in this idea for this class I wanted to play. So who wants to start? Well, actually, Mihi, who can't be here, will be playing a Goliath Barbarian. So we have the muscle, right? He is not with us tonight, but he's playing the Barbarian. Who's going to tell us what they're thinking of playing?
I'll start.
Go for it, Hunter.
You just want race and class?
Race and class, and then maybe the background. Yeah,
Okay.
in the background, yeah.
In the background. I got to bring up my notes now. I'm going to be a Furbolg Ranger. Basically, I'm a half giant, half fae of the woods and the icy glaciers. I'm an old, hermit, last of my tribe, loner with a loyal pet duck.
And it's a super big duck.
It's a big duck. It's actually half goose, half duck, but we call him a duck. It's
half something else. Yeah.
So Furbolg, is this like in like World of Warcraft Furbolgs?
No, those Furbolgs are like little gnomes, right? Kind of things. And they live in caves. These are much different.
Think like not as big as a Goliath, but like a very tall, very, very tall human.
No, they're about the same size. They're 7 to 8 feet tall.
Furry and pink skin.
Yeah. They kind of look like they're related to giants. They're giant.
They look like the BFG but shorter. Yeah,
the big friendly giant. Yeah. They kind of have like giant with elf ears, right? They're called giant kin. But they're the Goliaths are about the same size. So you got two big boys leading the crew there. And he's a hermit, and so okay.
Oh, and sorry, I borrowed a little from the Sage background where my only reason for coming into town, because normally they just keep to themselves in the forest.
Yeah, take multiple. Go ahead.
I'm in search of artifacts of my giant kin.
Right, and that's why you're kind of recluse too. So it's not so much the sage because you're playing the ranger aspect, right? So you're kind of like a little mini archaeologist or anthropologist in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, Eric, you have a couple of things you wanted to bring to the class today.
Okay. Was that Hunter? Were you done? You was good. Okay. So I've got two that I wanted to talk about, and how do I start this? I guess we'll start with so I like I'm kind of into playing dwarves. I like playing dwarves. So both these characters are going to be dwarves. The safe option A, is going to be the warlock. And I had so much fun in our one shot with the great old one warlock that I want to do it again. So I have a dwarf a dwarf. Um, is
Warlock.
that the right way to say it? Warlock. And
If you're not, you could change, right? Because you don't have your subclass yet, because you're level 1. But you want to go to the old god subclass.
That's the subclass that I want to play. That's the basis.
Yeah,
for the
and
story.
I guess we could talk about subclass too. So Hunter, you were leaning towards Beastmaster.
Beastmaster.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And him and I were talking about Josh's change to Beastmaster.
Yeah.
And
way better now.
Beastmasters. Yeah. Well, when I showed you that Beast of the Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mechanic for you is going to be this, because we said it, but a duck is all three. It's land, air, and sky, so he can switch the character sheet. I was actually going to say, like, if you catch a bear, like if you meet an animal you like and you want to make that your representative for, so like, wow, you could, like, I'm taking out this animal today. I'm going to use my land one versus my air one. You could do that too. So that's something we could talk about as a mechanic in game. I think that'd be fun. So Eric, the warlock, old god.
So the basis of this character is he's been in Icewind Dale for about a decade, and he is isolated to running this store that sells nothing. And what the store does is it influences weak-minded people to come in. They open the store, and whatever it is that they want, whatever it is that they are looking for, the warlock creates this illusion for them upon entering the store. So they look around, and the warlock, what he's actually doing is he's feeding information to his old god, to his patron. That's what he's doing. So it might not be he's not necessarily stealing like memories in terms of like, they're gonna, I forgot all about this event. He's stealing like specific knowledge. Like maybe this person has specific knowledge of a very specific event that happened, and they forget like a person's name, or they forget a face or something like that. And so that's the information that the great old one takes. So the warlock just he lures in these weak-minded people, and that's kind of been his purpose in Icewind Dale. So that's roughly what's going on with him there. Now, the character that is character B, that's going to be a bit of a risky character.
The warlock wasn't risky?
I don't think so. No.
I'm so excited.
So
Brace
this
yourself.
other character is a dwarf trickster cleric. And he has been in Icewind Dale for the past 10 years running this church. And this church he has been sent to run this church and worship this god,
This deity.
his deity. And essentially what the church is, though, is a pyramid scheme. And so what he's trying to do is lure in people to the church. He has one dedicated follower that is like his brother. And so, but what they actually do out of this church is they
So Eric, if you do this character really quick, it'll be a tabaxi and it'll count as your cat. You'll just have a, you'll have a.
The idea with this church is it's designed to teach these different lessons. And so for $29.99 per month, people that join this church can come in and have unlimited access to all of these different classes, and learn the teachings of the deity known as the Top G.
The Top G.
And so the whole premise behind this, the Top G,
it was before the news came out, when we just thought he was a horrible troll.
Very recent news. So I have always seen the Top G as
a troll,
as a troll of epic proportions, as a character. as a movie character, as a troll that is not to be taken seriously. And now he is potentially, allegedly, and I want to say this, allegedly.
So it doesn't sue you or us. Yeah. He's petty.
Allegations of human trafficking, rape, organized crime. A lot of that stuff's come out. So part of me is just like, man, we could go with this because it's just a hilarious concept. But at the same time, I don't think I want to touch that.
Now, the other thing was too, the character was questioning the church, right? That was the other thing. Like, it was going to be this whole thing of, let's bring that back. He's not like super in on it.
So the dwarf cleric, this whole time, he's been 10 years, only one follower. He's done with this religion. He's over it. He's barely hanging on. He's questioning it, and it's very much like Butters from South Park kind of a perspective on this thing. Like, he's just ready. Okay. He's looking for his way out, but somehow within this adventure, a little bit of a spark comes to this church, and it's kind of getting going a little bit. So he's kind of, it's wow, after 10 years, I've got some interest, but I'm so done because this is so ridiculous. That was going to be the whole premise of this whole thing.
You wrote a whole one-shot in your character backstory.
Yeah. But I just...
That's good. More notes is better.
I don't know.
I think...
I want to open it up to the group because
Go ahead,
I
love Hunter.
I
think we could use the cleric, but I like the warlock's background. I like the warlock. It seems fun that you try to convince people to buy stuff, and then you get points with your old god.
Yeah. I also think you could use the cleric and just not make it the top G. It's still a cleric in a pyramid scheme because trickery domain, it still works and it's still funny. And if you just go full Butters and be like, golly geez.
See, the thing is, though, the whole idea of it being a parody of itself.
Sure. Here's the thing. I would have been the one being Andrew Tate. It would have been you. Hold on. Yeah, it's winning me in the heart.
Yeah.
The top G. All right.
Well, I mean, should we do what the great reveal was going to be, though?
You already did. You said the top G. Oh, yeah,
but
and he was going to be a gnome. That was going to be the other joke. And he was going to be like, we were going to Wizard of Oz it. So, he was like a powerful deity with his scrying stone.
Especially if you're streaming it and using it for content. You have to think about it from out of context. Like, a lot of people are people will see clips or episodes out of context and might. Yeah. Unless they follow along the whole time, they might take it very easily out of context.
That's why we're like,
Yeah. I want to know what Hunter's thoughts were.
Oh no, it was impressive. Like, you basically, I'm serious. Like, you just wrote like a whole one shot. Like, we could do that campaign. Like, we all join your church and pay $29.99, and you're like, no,
that was the other shtick. Like, you guys would just he'd keep harassing you. He's like, I'll heal you for $29.99.
Is this a thing with D&D groups where maybe they come up with a
group character? That's what this SGO is.
The corrupt cleric pyramid scheme character might be better suited for a different campaign down the road.
Like his own campaign. Like, that's the campaign. I'm serious. Like,
that's the beginning.
We have to fight. We have to fight the top G.
Yeah.
No one's ever done it before.
That might work in the RuneScape. And then by the RuneScape one, we'll know about old Top G.
Maybe the dust will have settled.
So is the warlock acceptable then?
Yeah. What old god are you thinking? Have you decided on that? You're still
I'm still working on that because I still have my canon character up in the air. Okay. And I like the idea of an old god being that mysterious Cthulhu,
you like the Kraken one looked cool too.
Well, and so the idea behind that was that the only way that you can communicate with this. So inside of this warlock shop, I love this part of it too. He has a secret basement. The only way to access the secret basement is for the warlock to open the front door from the inside. So a patron, I want to say a patron. So a
The
customer
warlock has to
walks,
open the door for you.
so a customer walks into the shop from the outside. They open the door. They enter the shop. A customer opens the door from the inside. They walk out of the shop. If the warlock opens the door from the inside, it leads to his basement.
So is he trapped?
So he is trapped inside of his shop. And so in the events of beginning this encounter, somehow this ties into his patron allowing him to leave the shop.
Maybe you know what, that actually works out from sort of like, you need to go work with these people, right? Like, hey, be at this spot. It's like telling you what to do. And you're like, okay, like you can't, right?
But yeah, the warlock is very much trapped inside of his shop, and the only way that he gets to his basement is by opening that front door from the inside. Inside of that basement is another secret room where he has some kind of device that, you know, some kind of like seeing eye stone, some kind of relic or something that allows him to have some off-plane sort of communication or allow.
You don't want to talk to your god directly, right? You
no,
told me you
no. There's he does not, the old one does not exist on that plane. So it's a way of communicating to this patron off plane is this device. And like I said, some kind of seeing eye stone. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You know, it's just some kind of, you know, relic stone.
An iPad.
It's up to. I mean,
yeah, no,
we don't have. Yeah,
it's a Microsoft Microsoft Zoom.
Yeah,
a Zoom.
Yeah, a Zoom. Yeah. Oh man,
no.
Like Guardians of the Galaxy. So
does this character is the group okay with this warlock?
I think
like
the group
that.
like
That's
both,
cool.
Eric. I really do, but I think the warlock's the safer play for all of us at this time, and it's a good character.
Okay.
So we got a warlock, we got a hunter, we got a barbarian. That leaves Spool Man.
And I really wanted to try and play something that didn't have to deal with magic as much.
So you
'Cause
still can.
In our other campaign, I played a bard, so a very support-heavy bard, which is cool. I like being support normally, but I was trying to go out of my comfort zone, so I was really wanting to go down like a rogue path. So I was looking at playing. So my character's backstory, which it'll probably be no matter what class or what I end up playing, is that he grew up as an orphan in the streets of Luskin, which is like up north, I think, in the like Waterdeep kind of area.
Oh, so it's in Waterdeep. Okay.
But it's up in like kind of the Northlands. But anyways, he grew up in Luskin on the streets as an urchin, so it kind of borrows from the Icewind Dale urchin background a bit, where like that's where I grew up from up here, kind of. But I had a brother that I grew up with, and I left one day because I didn't want to be stuck in the north anymore, so I left and became like a pirate or like a sailor, and ended up sailing like up and down the Sword Coast, and like left, and I've been gone for like I think. Oh, I've also I really
got the sailor background now, apparently too.
Yeah, so it's like a mix of kind of urchin and the sailor a bit.
Yeah, that works. Hunter did it too. He's like, I want to be a hermit sage. Okay,
Yeah, it's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It works. It's like, to me, it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
But
Like,
the
it makes
reason, and so then I left for a long time, and recently my brother died. So I left my brother behind, even though we like grew up together and everything else. I wanted to leave, and he was too afraid. He was like afraid of sailing, basically afraid of going on the ocean. But it was called to me. And anyways, my brother has now died, and I keep seeing his ghost. And basically what I'm thinking of being is a phantom rogue.
Oh.
So I'll start off as a rogue, but then there's a subclass called Phantom, and they deal a lot with like talking to the dead and like get a bunch kind of like innate kind of powers and stuff from like dead and stuff like that. And so, but I was thinking of being a deep gnome for my race, which is like a dark gnome basically.
The worst kind of gnome.
Yeah, right. So I was thinking of be either a deep gnome or honestly, I kind of bounced between a swashbuckler rogue, and that's kind of why I went down that path of
the pirate.
And then thought about like swashbuckler is like stronger and potentially like more tanky and stuff, but I think phantom is more potentially more fun from like a role playing standpoint that like basically I don't know if you've watched what is it called? What's that Netflix
Pirates
show
of the Caribbean, yes.
No. There's a
Wow.
Netflix show where it's like a bunch of siblings. It's not Misfits. It's like a bunch of siblings that all have kind of powers.
Oh, Umbrella Academy?
And Umbrella Academy. You know how the one brother Ben, the undead,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the,
yeah.
like,
Where
the
he's
one
the
brother
monsters?
sees
Yeah,
Ben
yeah,
all the
yeah.
time. So I'm kind of thinking my brother is kind of like that, not as constant.
A
But,
regular
like-
Gerard Way over
but-
here.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I'm thinking that
That's
my
right.
character's kind of
My
backstory
Chemical
is.
Romance, yeah.
But yeah, my character. I was gonna name my character Glib.
Glib. You're being real
Glib.
glib. That's that's that's
I
what that
know.
means.
I know.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
he was
I
going
like
to be
that.
Glib, and my brother's name was going to be like Glub or something like
Glib,
that.
Glub.
So we were like
Okay.
Glib and Glub, and we were like these little lost deep gnome orphans where no one really knew where he came from. So we
Yeah.
grew up on the streets, and we did a lot of like sketchy stuff, and I didn't want to be in that like world anymore. And my brother basically got caught up in it, and he ends up dying. And so I come back to try and like figure out what happened to him. And
Yeah.
I leave that all up to you, Casey, of whatever you want to do or not.
I have to tie it into the book somehow, but yeah,
If
that's. I
anything.
think I think a good storytelling is cohesive, and you tell me what you want to be surprised with, and you leave that to me, and and I find out, right? Like it's that play behind the scenes too between the DM and the player.
And he doesn't know how he doesn't know anything. Like a lot of his memory is gone. Like recent memory basically is gone for like the last 6 months or whatever before he died.
Yeah.
Just to make it easier. Like, because it would be really easy if he's like, oh yeah, Jim Bob over there killed me or whatever. Then I'm just like hunting one person. I like it more than it's like we don't really know, so it kind of ties into whatever the big bad guy is or something like that down the road.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that your cat's killing me, Eric. He wants your attention so bad.
She's on the other side of the door.
Oh my god. So okay, the rogue would work. We have and rangers can heal. I know you're worried about that. Potions would be really important.
I mean, if we're gonna get all the way to 12, I definitely have multi-classing ideas.
Yeah, again, I'm always a fan of that too, as long as it makes sense. So if you really want to do the rogue, Sean, do that. What's your other class idea?
My backup was an Echo Knight, which is like a fighter.
Oh,
so
sick.
they wouldn't even be. That was more if we needed a tank.
But you got the barbarian.
Or more barbarians aren't really tanks though.
They can be if you build them right.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, you have someone in the front line.
We do. I think we're covered that way. That's why I was gonna go more for like Phantom Rogue over Swashbuckler Rogue.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't really have a lot of supporty kind of stuff.
We don't need it. Survival.
Again, you guys could meet. You could meet an NPC, or I was going to
live on the edge, man.
Yeah, live on the edge.
Well, yeah, but
also,
the way that our house rules work with like it's easy to use like health pots or stuff like that.
Yeah. Like I said, that it encourages it, right? So it can be any group. And I mean, like you could go get a tattoo and learn a spell. Right?
Oh, right.
There's that kind of stuff. Like there's ways around it. Like
there's like for anyone that doesn't know, there's like a magical like item or like a magic whatever thing that lets you do that.
Yeah. You could go do that. We could work around it, and everybody could get something like that too. I'm all for that. Now the other thing is secret time, and we haven't got to roll any dice tonight. So here's what I got. You guys have your personal dice on you right now. You guys have 2 d8s.
I
do.
2 d8s.
2 d8s, please.
Hold on,
I have a d8 that I can roll twice.
1d8 that I can roll twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been
you guys
so
you
invested.
have multiple sets.
I do, but I don't have them available.
So another thing about Icewind Dale and your characters is there's something called secrets. And this book has built-in secrets for secret time. And I numbered them straight up 1 through 16. And depending on what you roll later tonight, when you start placing your stats, I'm going to text you a picture of your secret. And that's something you have to apply to your character story. So this is a little added thing, the character secret. So this is just like a bonus flavor.
So if we roll the same thing, someone needs to roll again because they'll know each other's secret.
Or you could tell me what your first roll was, and I would just take that number. So okay, Who wants to tell me their roles here?
12.
So we're rolling 2d8s.
And you tell me that. Eric?
11.
Perfect. If you got a 10 or a 13, Sean.
I got 12.
Oh,
Ooh.
see?
Wait, what did you roll? A 5
I
and a
got
7?
5
or
and a 7.
And then you got
I got a 4 and an 8.
Okay. So 5, 7, 40. Okay, what do you want? The 4 or the 8?
I'll take the 8.
Okay. And Sean? 5
I
or
will
7?
take the 5.
Okay, there we go. And then I'll have Meech roll one either. See, there we go. That worked out. All right. So I'm going to text you your secret. Oh man, that worked out perfectly. Like some of them, like, yeah, okay.
The story writes itself.
Yeah, all right.
The dice, they know.
The dice know.
I do know. Actually, this is really sick. Awesome.
Just accidentally lead yourself into that.
Yeah, right.
That's actually one of the best feelings I feel like when you're DMing too. Like no matter what it is, when stuff falls into place and you're like, I didn't plan that, and that is amazing.
The dice do tell. They're
You
the
live
most
and die.
poetic
You live and die
Yeah.
by the dice.
I'm just reading them because they're so cool. Okay. Awesome. So I'll text you guys those later. So we have a Discord, and if you're interested in ever coming on our Discord, it's in the description below for our video game podcast. But the guys are gonna roll stats in Discord right now. And did you guys ever find that giant server command?
Yeah, you
it's
can just type
exclamation point roll stats.
Oh, there you go. So I'm gonna let you guys do this. I'm trying to figure out like how hardcore I want to be. You can roll twice, but if you don't like your first one, you have to take the second one.
Oh,
Okay.
you're talking about the whole array? You can roll twice?
You can roll the whole array twice.
Oh.
And you
But
can
you have to take the second one.
You have to take the second one. So you gotta look at your first one and be like, do I like it?
Okay, so it's like if you get one group that's like 5/8 or something, and you're like, I really want to reroll that.
Yeah. Basically.
For anyone listening that doesn't know, 10 is an average human competency in whatever skill it is. Below that, you're below average. Usually, you don't want that in D&D. You want everything like way above 10 if you can get it.
Yeah.
So who's gonna roll first? Oh, Sean already rolled.
No, that's the old one.
That was when we were testing.
That's a reroll.
He got 39.
No, he got 39.
That would be 3 below average stats. Stats are like intelligence,
terrible,
wisdom, strength, dexterity.
As a hunter, you don't,
charisma.
Oh my god.
You know what? There's a 16 and a 14 in there. I can't be complaining.
Yeah. Yikes. Yikes.
I'm afraid now.
Yep. Good luck, boys.
Roll stat.
Good.
That's a 5 and a 7.
Look at his total.
I know.
69. And then there's an 18. It's an 18, a 16, a 14, which are all pretty good. But then 9, 7, and a 5.
It's okay to be bad at some stuff. It makes for funny moments, and you can build
bad dump stat int. Hey guys,
we only want like 1 or 2 dump stats.
Oh,
there you go. That's a great average character.
Yep.
I want 1 dump stat though.
Eric, your stats. Oh man.
I already know it's gonna be 80. Yep.
82.
It's so stupid.
Don't reroll.
Stupid luck. All right. That's good. Pretty decent. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
15, 14, 10, 16, 16, 11. That warlock's a god.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, the warlock is gonna work for sure.
Yeah.
With those stats.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk stats really quick for those that don't know. Characters have certain stats that are more important than others. Like for rangers, dexterity is big, but you can be a strength-based ranger if you try to melee. But still, dex is still your main thing. So dex and then wisdom. Yeah. And then for the rogue, it's dex and then maybe constitution. A little bit of charisma.
Yeah. Yeah, dex is definitely their main one.
Yeah.
It's like dex, and then I'm trying to think. Oh, charisma. Yeah, because usually I don't know how much of a face we really have. Eric's kind of
charisma. It's a charisma class.
Well, yeah, that doesn't mean he's a face necessarily.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
It depends on how he wants to like play the character. But I know he's going to be constantly bringing people, like trying to seduce people into his, store, his world. But is he going to be like working to persuade or intimidate or like perform for people and stuff?
That's something to decide later. But that I think is a great way to end. And so how every session should truly end is figuring out when you're going to play and meet. So we try to do 2 weeks in advance just to see. And I threw out the date to the group today in our group text, the 13th. How's the 13th of January sound, everybody?
It's good on me.
Friday the 13th?
Yeah, baby.
That should work for me. I'll be back
Works for
from
me.
Hawaii for like a day or two then.
When you going to Hawaii?
The 4th.
Dang. I got to talk to you about making a D&D template then. We got to get in communication here real fast for Steam Labs. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll talk off air about that. But yeah, come join us January 13th, and you'll see the beginning of Underpowered presents Dice Night, Frostwind Dale. That's too long. It's just Dice Night, Frostwind, Icewind Dale. Yeah. It's going to be ... I don't know what I'm saying. I think he just kept typing on autopilot. But if you like what you saw, or if you want to join us, again, you can obviously join our Discord and check anything in the description below. And please leave a nice review if you can, so kind, and enjoy your evening and get out there and play some dice. Good night.